Can you clap? Okay. Yeah, little man? Yeah, man. You're the first other guy that I've had on here. So, what do you think of the name Art Life?
I like it.
You do? Okay. I was trying to figure out if I like over analyze the names, but I liked Art Life because it was like just straightforward and
It does what it says.
yeah.
Jason, I think.
And to me, the interest is always like a lot of interviews when they interview artists. Like I feel like they're very like surface level. Where to me, what's interesting is what day to day looks like. What how does one have their setup? How does one survive?
I remember the first time we met, you were asking me about work setup and stuff.
Yeah.
Again, it's like you're right. There's a very interesting dynamic because you get people who are insanely clinical about the stuff they do, where everything in their studio is precise. Me, I pretty much live in squalor, so
Yeah.
But I'm one of those guys. It's like I know where everything is, even though it just looks like it's trash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was I always call it organized chaos sort of a thing.
Exactly. I definitely have that. Yeah.
So actually, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Paul Buss, local artist in Racine, kind of a Renaissance guy, I guess. I kind of do all kinds of stuff, and most people kind of know me for painting, and I don't know, what else do I do?
I know you were mentioning the spray paint stuff from one of my... Did you do some spray paint art as well, or not really?
Not really. I'm awful at that. I do graffiti with a lot more pen and marker stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, my friends are way better at doing graffiti work with spray paint than I am. But yeah, I mean, play a little music, hang out downtown. I don't know, with all the kooky bohemian crowd around here. But yeah, I mostly paint. And
how did you get started with painting?
I've been doing it forever, but I took a really long hiatus. This was probably 2 or 3 years ago, and I just had a weird change of life moment where it's I kind of want to go back to doing it, and I started back up learning how to do portraitures and stuff again, which I was never that great at. Actually, I was never really an amazing painter even at that level, but I took a few months to just kind of figure it back out again, and I started to get a little bit of heat, and I was like, you know what, I'll continue it, I'll pursue it. It seems like it's going somewhere, and been enjoying it quite a bit, actually. It's been fun.
Doing what?
Just painting, doing a few shows, and
Where does and that's actually a big question for me, is where as a painter does most of your money come from? Commissions? Do they comes from doing pop-up events or doing art events, or what's the...
I've got a ton of my different little honey pots, but I mean, commission work. I mean, painting stuff, it's really nice because if I have a piece that somebody wants, I can be set for a week or two with the prices, but other times it's a giant struggle. It's hit or miss. I mean, that's really what it is. I think the last few years I've been trying to find a nice balance where I can actually make a substantial amount of money each week and not have to constantly worry about the hustle of everything else. But the vast majority of it comes from that. I've worked pretty hard to get to that spot because before...
Comes from the commissions?
Yeah, commissions and just, and
that's my assumption would be, it would be mostly that.
And the other great thing too, it's within the last year or so, I've, people have wanted stuff that's kind of in my voice. So it's been nice that I don't have direct 100% parameter stuff of just make it look exactly like this. People say, just here's a little bit of a rough idea, paint my grandma, but do whatever else you want. And that's been kind of a nice little gift to do, because a lot of times it gets kind of boring when you have to just sort of sit there and do it for money, and you don't get to have a lot of you don't get to put your own real creativity into a piece. So it's been nice to kind of have that luxury lately.
How much do you think about your voice?
All the time, and I've always tried to evolve. I mean, I get bored. I think there's a certain times of my life where it's I want to evolve into something else, and it's I'm constantly trying to think of where I can go next with what I do. I don't want people to always kind of think of me as doing one particular thing. So I'm kind of actually, even at this point, moving on into something else. I haven't really jumped just yet, but the last few months I've been coming up with more of a different idea as to where I want to approach my art from. So that's going to be interesting.
What does that look like?
Yeah, I should probably explain, because I was just going to be It's weird to even say, but like, I've been looking at cinematic photography as well as like how to. Again, you're a videographer. Like how people block scenes, how
Yeah.
you get emotion between two people in a shot, because you can't really convey something and give a lot of exposition if you're not doing it verbally. But like the whole idea I have, and it sounds really odd, but it's like I want to try to paint something really mundane. Like, well, I want to paint boredom. I want to paint like just alienation, something odd. Like I had this idea literally a few days ago. I was at a concert, and the opening band. I was thinking about how everybody reacts to an opening band. They're playing on their phones. They're talking to their friends. They're louder than the music. It's like that kind of mundane aspect.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to think of how to do it in almost like an Edward Hopper way,
Okay.
where there's like, I don't know, it's almost sort of like voyeuristic in a sense, but that's one of my new ideas. And I just haven't actually pulled the trigger yet. I'm still trying to piece that together. So
I'm not familiar with Hopper. Can you describe?
most people probably know him as the guy that did Nighthawks, the diner.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But he was known for doing these really weird, almost like ghostly pictures of people that are either looking out of something, either looking out of a window, hiding somewhere, or he's actually staring in on them.
Yeah.
And it's just this real boring, mundane thing that you would paint. But it's like I kind of want to do that, but with like a modern approach and some tongue-in-cheek stuff. I don't want to just have it like be a picture of people playing on their phones. I want to add something a little bit more silly to it, but that's actually kind of been like my next idea. But see, the thing is, I don't say talking about ideas because I always feel like if I say it, it's never going to come to fruition.
Yeah.
But like that is something that I've talked to a few people, and they're like, that sounds like a really cool concept. You should try to play around with it. So I think that'll be the next thing I try to do.
So when you come up with your concept, so I've been talking to other artists as I prep for this. I was talking to one who he almost does like a Picasso sort of thing where he gets stuck in it. He'll have a concept and then he'll actually like tackle it like 10 times. So like when he had like Picasso's Blue Period or whatever, like he'll have like 10 pieces that are almost like I don't know what you call it, like you almost having them together, you're like, oh, that was the premise.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And I thought that was blew my mind.
That is a really awesome idea, actually. Yeah.
And he's like, and I said like, so you don't like just be like, okay, I got this premise and then I didn't put it out. And he's like, no, I like keep coming at it until I feel like I've explored it enough to go on to the next one. And so you're probably more like me, where you're like, you have this idea and you just need to like, it's sort of more in your head, like you're experimenting it in your head as opposed to like literally shooting it out.
I always think it's kind of part of me just being like a broke artist. It's like I always feel like I'm not going to pull the trigger on something and waste a bunch of my paint. But that concept is a really cool idea too. And it almost sounds like any one piece you look at of his, the entire story isn't being told until you see the actual process. I like that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I just don't have the balls to kind of do that. I have to, I'm like you. I kind of have to sit there and play around with it in my mind for a little bit.
And I feel like once I finish, I already have that next premise in my mind, so it's almost like that's the release, as opposed to like, again, his is like the series is the release. For me, it's like I'm not doing paintings, but it's I've never had it where I'm like, oh, I'd like to do a series of this is what I'm exploring, so I'm going to do 10 videos like that. It's like once that video's out of my head, I already have the next sort of idea or something, whatever you want to call
Almost
it.
like a conveyor line in a weird way. It's like once that one thing is out, the next one kind of comes through on that conveyor belt.
Yeah.
At least that's how it is for me.
It's usually, I would say it's usually what it is that next one's already like annoying me enough that I'm like, I got to get this out so I can go on to the next stuff.
Yeah, I have that all the time too. Let me ask you something too, especially with your creative process. Again, going back to that weird concert thing. I never really bring my phone out unless I really need it. So I'm also not that guy. Even people are like, oh, phones are stupid. I love my phone.
Yeah.
It's great to have around, but it's like, not a show. I don't need it out. But this is my point. So like, I have ideas and stuff when I'm out and about, and I always just kind of write a few keywords down in my little notepad on my phone.
Yeah.
Didn't bring it to the show. And so like the entire time I'm asking my buddy, can I just borrow your phone? Can you send me this in a text form?
Yeah.
But like, do you ever do that thing where you just kind of put in 2 or 3 random words that'll make sense to you? And if anybody else saw it, they'd be like, this is a haiku? What are you trying to write? Do you do that at all?
Yes. Usually for more like I'll try to like flesh it out, or usually not flesh it out, but usually there's more than just a few words. But there's that time where, or even sometimes it'll be like a song. Like I'll hear a song and I'll just be like, I need to remember that song, but I'll just like write. Usually it messes up because it's like not a useful but like, yeah, I tend to do that. I wouldn't say a lot, but definitely.
Yeah, I have that issue. And it's funny because, like, I showed my buddy what I was texting, and I put it down on his little notepad, and it just sounded so odd to him. But it's like,
Yeah.
I knew for a fact it would make sense to me, and I also know for a fact just how bad my memory is. I would forget.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just like a 1 or 2 word guy.
I feel like in that situation, I would have took a photo or something. That would actually help me more than.
Well, see, the thing is, I had like, so going back to kind of what you're talking about with like projects that are kind of in the back of your head that you want to finish. I had an idea for a project a few months back, and I could never exactly figure out how I wanted to finish it. I had one idea, and it just seemed like a very simplistic idea, and I just all of a sudden it came to my head of like, you can add this and that to it. Point is, I thought of it at the show. Again, being that spectator that felt like he was kind of bored with the opening act, and I hate being that guy because I always want to be exposed to something new all the time. But like, that was a moment where it's like, I don't have my phone, and when I show my friend this and he texts it back to me, he's going to be insanely confused. It's going to be a whole process explaining it. But it's like every time I get like a new phone or I go through stuff to like just erase data, it's like I have so many of these little random words. It's like almost like. It's just so goofy to go back and think this is where that came from, was these 2 little sequences of ideas. And
Yeah.
I don't know.
Mine are whiteboards. Like I love whiteboards.
Oh yeah.
So I'm bummed that he like covered this whiteboard because this is one where I have tons of photos of me just like going to town and then like, but then I ended up not really. In theory, I should take those notes and then like process them and then like put them to use. But a lot of times it's like it just sits on my phone.
Well, they're kind of ideas. I mean, like almost. You know, like artists and stuff. I'm sure it's probably the same with you because you work in a visual medium as well. It's like they've got like picture I guess folders of pictures. That's what they used to be when I was in school.
Yeah.
Before we,
I still have some,
yeah, but it's like, that's how I am too. It's like I'll have just piles of really weird photos on my phone. That's like I want to use this for something, or I want to use it for something else. And sometimes I'll have them there for months, and I forget what I was trying to initially do with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would do that a lot with like even just like color schemes or like these or like color with like a certain like font style or like that'd be awesome in a video, or even like logo design, which I don't do a lot of, but like most of the logos are like for the crazy number projects.
Yeah,
that is just like it's nice to have. So I actually still have somewhere in my basement it was just like a bundle of envelopes, and I would just shove postcards and stuff in there that I'm just like, oh, that's cool.
And the same way, I had that when I was in school. I actually think one of the classes I had, we actually had to cut out a maximum amount of photographs out of magazines just to have that extra credit. I remember it was like last year. Actually, I think second time you and I actually met when I was doing that show at Evelyn's, that punk rock rummage sale. A few of the pictures I was selling came from like a really old folder of stuff I had in school that like I completely forgot about. And again, there's stuff in there that I remember cutting out for whatever reason, and other stuff I'm like, what was this? Because it was so long ago, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I had sketches from high school and sketches from college, so it was really kind of cathartic to see all that stuff, and it was one of those really weird serendipitous moments of trying to find something else and then finding that folder of just old pictures that I never finished, you know what I mean? It was kind of fun to do that. That was a really weird time too, like, it's a really odd thing. I had nothing going on, and I was like, you know what? I like some of these sketches. Let me do something with them, because I think at the time I put them down for whatever reason, and it's like, I got the time. Let me finish these up, and some of them came out kind of neat.
Yeah, how much of your stuff do you keep?
Like painting wise?
Yeah, just like of your sketches. Do you try to keep as much as you can, or do you like?
If I can get rid of certain ones, I try to. I did a painting. Oh God, a few months back of Art Bell. Do you know who Art Bell is? Radio DJ.
It sounds really familiar, but it might just be some like.
He was like one of the forebears of like paranormal radio.
Dude, I was just talking to somebody today about him.
Okay, so like he's one of my heroes. I love that. And I had this painting. It was really odd background I did. And for some weird reason, I was like, I just want to put Art Bell's head on it. I also put up links and stuff at the end of this. You guys can actually see it, but I have Art Bell's disembodied head on him, floating above like mechanical spider legs and an alien. Cool. Yeah. Because that was kind of the thing. He would always do paranormal and crypto stuff and UFOs, whatever. But
radio shows, right?
Yeah, it was a radio show. It was really cool because this radio show, it took place at like 2 a.m. You had to listen to it at night. It made everything that much more creepy and fun. But the point is, like, that's one that I'm keeping for myself. Like, I like him so much. It was a fun piece, and it's like, there's pieces like that I do keep. I probably have a little, like, I guess like a Tupperware bin of like not Tupperware, whatever they call it. What are those bins? Those Rubbermaid bins.
Yeah.
Tupperware bin would be for food. I mean, I don't paint that small, but like, no,
Yeah.
I've got like a Rubbermaid bin of a few things I've kept that I just don't want to sell. But
Yeah.
most of the time, it's like if I can get rid of it, I try to. I'm kind of also in the same. I don't know if it's in the same vein as you, but it's like after I get done with a project and I'm on to the next one, it's like it's hard for me to want to keep focus on that other thing. So if I can sell it or put it up, that's always a win-win. But
what about just like old sketches and stuff?
Yeah,
Stuff that aren't as like
of
sellable
course.
as.
Yeah, I pretty much everything I have in old sketch forms. And again, going back to the Manila folder thing, I like during the summer, I picked up like a giant set of Manila envelopes and folders, and I've been putting stuff in there. But yeah, I try to keep as much of my sketches as I can. Yeah.
Yeah, because I've been trying to pull, just like sort of clean out even like digitally, because I know like I'll lose a lot of stuff digitally over the years, like just a couple hard drives going bad and things like that.
Oh, yeah,
so I'm trying to be like, all right, I need to get this to completion so that I can still save it, but then like if it gets deleted, it's like, well, it exists out there on the web, which most of my stuff's digital, so it's like it still exists even if I lose any of that stuff. So
that's kind of the cool thing about how we have with modern technology, is the idea that you can actually keep it going. But I know what you mean too, because even with technology now, it's like I've had old photos and stuff that you see now, and it's like just the ratio is off. It just looks bad, but at the time it was shot really well. Yeah.
And I have lost a couple very small things that were digital that I'm like accidentally. My kids were playing with my phone or something, and she actually deleted it from YouTube. A video.
Man.
And it was one of those things where I was like, yes or no, and I was like, yes. And I was like, yes. I was like, do you want to delete it?
Yeah.
Like, no, that was the wrong answer, but I panicked. And so, it's only happened like once or twice. I had one thing that got pulled that I wish I had saved.
Off of YouTube just because of content or something else?
Yeah, content. I still like want to fight with them about it, but I'm not high enough on the rings.
I think so. Yeah, if you're like an influencer, I think they still have issues with it too.
Yeah, and it wasn't like anything super important. It was I did a mashup which they left, but then I taught how I did the mashup, and I think what it was I showed how to pull stuff off of YouTube.
Oh yeah.
So which you're technically not allowed to do, but you're allowed to make mashups, so it doesn't really make any sense. So like I think that's what I got. I think they pulled it for that reason. But I've also seen other videos. I showed them how to do that, and I showed how to grab videos from Netflix, which I just recorded the screen. So I don't know which one it was, but I'm guessing that's what.
It's a very punk rock though.
Yeah,
I like that idea. Yeah, because I mean, that's the other thing too, man. I always feel so bad for content creators now. I mean, I know very little about how that process works, but I'm a big fan of a handful of channels, and it's like I always see the turmoil that's been going on, especially I guess next year where they're taking down a lot of stuff that was advertised towards kids, but they're being very vague as what will be. So it's like these people are trying to make a living, and some of the ones that have already had a decent amount of income coming from it, where they're doing it professionally, it's like I can't imagine that kind of heartache that you're going through if you're doing that.
Yeah.
It seems like a very confusing thing, though.
Yeah, I actually hadn't heard. I stay out of a lot of it, but that makes sense because they just asked me today, is this video for kids? And I was like, not really sure why they were asking me.
Oh, well, there you go, Jason.
So,
now you know.
Now I got to research it.
Dude, well, speaking of sketches and stuff being taken down, I had this really awesome sketch that I was actually going to use for something recently, and I had that exact same thing happen where I accidentally hit something and erased it. And I was going through everything on my computer and on my phone to try to figure out ways of, did I back it up correctly? And I lost it for good. I'm kind of bummed about it, but it happens and it sucks sometimes.
Yeah, and the nice thing now is like the hard drives are so cheap, but the issue is like taking the time to do it. Because early on too, I used to have one through Norton, and then I tried to I lost it, and I went to go do it, and they had done weird stuff and it didn't really work anymore. So all these years of backing it up was actually pointless because it was in a format. I'm sure if I really worked on it and probably paid Norton a bunch of money, they
give it back to you,
even though I was already paying for the backup. And so I think at that time I didn't really have anything worth that, just all right, just let all this stuff go. It was just one of those things where I was like, I don't really, I have a hard time trusting backup programs anymore because they actually, they're doing stuff to your files as opposed to literally just taking it and backing it up, being okay, here's a copy on another hard drive.
if that's what you're paying for, it's like it's really obnoxious. To
Yeah.
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 I used to have external hard drives. I had this really nice one that had a bunch of my old graphic design photos on it, and the male end that you would connect the female end into snapped on it.
Oh no.
And it's like, how do you replace something like that? Do you know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
could see if it was bent, but I think I was moving at one point and it dropped out of the box, and I didn't think much of it. I'm like, oh, it looks like it's fine. And I go to use it again, and like, I had so much cool stuff on there that it's permanently gone.
Yeah.
Plus, the computer I think that I had at the time had a few of those files on there too, but that thing died on me. And that was a workhorse computer that like I was always on life support, and when it finally died, it's like, I'm going to get another one. I'm not going to think about anything else. And of course, it's that laziness of not backing stuff up. And in that case, it was actually just the external box. I was usually like,
Yeah. That's the worst one. Like my computer's a little bit there now where like I can tell it's having glitches where I should probably back. I did actually. I took everything off of it. But that's usually like, I always would be like, why didn't, like I knew it was going bad. You know, it would just do stupid stuff like, you know, randomly not work and it's like all these signs and still it's like, I got a little more time.
That's the thing too. You're always so engaged in like a project at that moment. There's always that little hint in the back of your head, like you should probably be doing it now. It's like, no, I've got to get this done. And yeah.
Or 100 other things.
Yeah, exactly,
Sure.
Exactly. It's like, don't wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why too. I mean, I know some of the big ones, like they just, or just companies in general, they automatically like it just makes a copy of everything you do. So maybe that's the direction we should go.
I turn that on my phone now, where it's like everything I have is now backed up just after a few of those other incidents that I have. But then again, half the stuff that's backed up, I'm sure I probably don't even need. Just a handful of photos that I even forget that I wanted. You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah. So I'd like to ask you more about the pop-ups. So, do you find that they're lucrative, or is it more of a fun thing to do, or what is or do you end up getting a lot of like? I'm curious if you'd also get, what do you call it, not consignments, what are the
commissions?
Yeah, commissions through those.
Yeah. I've gotten a handful from them, and it's always kind of interesting because, like, you know, you always want to print out business cards and all that stuff. And so every once in a while, like I think actually recently, I think it was not the show that you were at that I was there. I did one out, and I think it was at the Branch last year, and somebody wanted a commission done of a pet. And so, like, I get a message on Instagram, like, hey, you know, remember me? I'm so-and-so there, and, you know, can you get this done for me? So it does work out. But, I mean, as in, like, the pop-ups themselves, if they're free, it's always a plus to, you know, if you can get into one for free. So I've been doing a few more of those shows because, again, I'm broke, so it's like it's nice to do that. But, you know, when you have to get into the ones you pay for, obviously there's that element to it, and you always want to at least break even. But for the most part, they've been lucrative. There's a few newer shows that I've been to where I'm just not sure, like the clientele or the venue, if they're going to want my stuff. Because, I mean, I do wonkier, weirder kind of pop arty, pin-up-y stuff. So it's like sometimes, even here in Racine, there's people who want lighthouses. They want something that looks a little bit more holiday or traditional, and it's like, I don't do too well there. But that when I had at Long Shot, I cleaned it up pretty well, and it was a fun gig where it was like I got to meet a bunch of cool people. It was at a really cool record store. Everybody that came in was really into what I was doing and wanted to see the band that was playing. So, like, that was a win-win. You know, I made a little bit of money, got to meet people. It seemed like those were people who wanted to see the stuff I was creating. So it's give or take. I have an opportunity to do a pop-up maybe next month, but I have a feeling it might not actually be one of the more lucrative ones. It might just be one where I kind of get out there just to get my name out there. But
do you? So I've looked at doing live events. For different projects, and like there's like usually the events are fun, but like being there as a person behind the booth, like to me that does not. It's one of those things where it's like, do you enjoy that part, like being behind the booth and chatting with people? I mean, it's one of those things where like I do enjoy it, but at the same time I hate like that anxiety of like I don't have like social anxiety. Like I don't like.
It's weird. Like I do have like really bad social anxiety. I'm very shy and quiet in most situations, but I don't mind talking to strangers in that way. I guess I had a buddy of mine that taught me how to kind of do that stuff years ago. She was a vendor. She was the one that got me into the whole kind of thing of trying to work and do a little indie business. And she always gave me this rule of thumb of like if somebody approaches your booth, you know, obviously you're not aggressive, but you say, hi, I did this, and you introduce yourself and you let them look around. You know, if they ask you a question, you respond back with an answer if you know what it is, and you got to make it more, I don't know, a little bit more, less clinical and less aggressive than being at like a box store. But, you know, you want to make sure that they know that you know they're there, and that, you know, if they have questions that you're a polite, nice person that'll answer them for them. I was just telling you before we filmed, I was at an art show with a buddy of mine, and he has that same kind of issue sometimes. He doesn't know how to like approach people. And I was kind of saying, if they come to your section, just give a quick intro. Hey, I did this, and let them look around, and they'll come back to you. You know what I mean? So it is kind of almost formulaic, but it's not coming from a place of insincerity either.
You're kind of just setting up the, like, it's okay to talk to them situation.
Because you don't want to be standoffish, because there's sometimes when people will be at a booth and it's just like they kind of just sit there. And,
well, I've seen some where like they're drawing, and I'm like, I can't help that. In some ways it's a plus because people like will respond, but at the same time, like, I'm not gonna. I was like, you do like they're drawing. Usually, if I'm gonna buy something, I'd probably interrupt them, but like, I'm sure maybe someone might not, or if I'm like on the fence, they might be more likely to buy it if they didn't feel like they were bothering them.
I always try to say at least hello, but I also, because I always hate like too, when you go to anywhere, I mean, it could be a Target and somebody is asking you, like, hey, can I help you, over and over. And, you know, I find that at Gurney Mills. I don't know if they always make commissions there on stuff, but it's like every time you go into a store like a Gurney Mills, it's like 5 or 6 people. Hey, can I help you? What are you looking for? And it's like, I always try to keep that in mind too. It's like, you know, just one little quick intro. Hey, this is what I did. If you have any questions, here's my business card. Look away, you know? Have fun. But yeah, I know what you mean. Because sometimes being at those events, especially the bigger ones, it gets a little overwhelming. Because I'm that way too. I get really bad social anxiety if I'm around strangers sometimes. But if I'm there for an event, I always kind of have to put on like the, hey, look at me kind of face. Of like, buy something, check this out. Which I'm not always good at. I don't know.
Which is interesting because like when I perform, I don't have. I do get anxious, but like there's a weird. I feel like there's a weird permission, right? Like if I'm on stage, it's like like normally when I'm at a party, I am like the one who's going to be quiet and sit by myself.
Me too.
But like as soon as there's like a stage and someone's like, "Hey, Jason," no, I shouldn't say that. Usually, if, somehow it's like if someone just did that, I would be weirded out. But if it was like I'm there to do a show,
exactly, you're the entertainer,
right? Then it's like, okay, I'm here to do the show. And again, I'll have that anxiety, but like I'll get over it because
I'm the same way.
I have to be there to do the show.
I swear to you, I'm the exact same way. I used to play in bands and stuff. Let me ask you: are you an only child, or do you have?
No, it's complicated. But I grew up with 3 brothers.
Okay,
they were all pretty. One's a little bit older, but the other ones were way older. So
because I was gonna say, like, I'm an only child, and it's like it's one of those things. I always wonder if it's like a lack of attention, or maybe more of an attention. I don't know, but it's like
my brother is way more outgoing. So I always feel like mine comes from that, where like he was sort of naturally funny and sort of social, and where I would see it and then I would try to like, oh, he's doing it, let me try, and then like mine would fall flat. So it became this thing of like constantly seeing.
Were you almost like a competition thing?
I wouldn't say competition, but you'd be more like, oh, okay, he's doing this funny thing. Let me try to do that because he's obviously getting attention. Sort of trying to like, you know, just being like, oh, that looks fun, and then being like constantly being like, I don't know what it was, but I felt like I always like failed. Like, you know what I mean? I mean, in that level. Of, like, but it was because he, like I said, I think he is natural. Like even just like, even still today, a little bit where I'm like hanging out with him. He just looks more comfortable and like, you know, he's not even really outgoing, but he
just compared to you, because I was gonna say, because obviously what you used to do too with being a performer and stuff. You're right. Like, you made a really good point about permission, because I feel the same way. It's like I will always be that guy who's really quiet somewhere, but if you want me on stage to do something, I have no problem with hamming it up, and I don't know what that is either. That's something I've always tried to. That's why I'm asking you about like siblings and stuff. Because that was one of my rationales. It's like, well, I'm an only child, so I don't really have to compete for anything. You know what I mean? And I know like a lot of with siblings and stuff, I don't have that level of understanding. But I know a lot of people compete with brothers and sisters. So I always wondered if maybe that was it. Because I have no problem with being on stage. I can look past people when I'm talking to them. But like one-on-one, if I don't know somebody, I'm kind of like a bit standoffish. I don't know what to say.
I know with like if I'm at certain meetings too, I have an issue where like. If how do I explain it? Like if I'll have an idea, but I can't like get it out unless somebody asks me about it. If that makes sense? Sort of like yeah, it's usually part of it is like my brain is sort of like working so hard that I'm almost like having the conversation in my head. So I think that's similar where when I'm on stage, I sort of like permission to like improv and to like let things out. I like to have like a script in my head, which helps. So like, imagine the same with music. Like you could always just like music. You know?
Yeah, well, in that situation too, it's like you can almost drown out a crowd when you're playing music too.
Yeah.
But like, I'm the same way too. It's like, yeah, I'm not the type of guy. Yeah, in a situation like that, it's like, yeah, I want to have somebody approach me about it. I'm not the one that's the outgoing guy that's like, no, my idea that I had the entire time, and I'm the one that brings it up. Yeah, which again can be, I think, detrimental, but it's something, it's one of those weird things. You get older, you try to work on yourself a little bit more, try to understand like what those failures are, because I still try to think of that now. It's like, what could I do better in these situations?
Yeah.
And that way, but you're right, it's that weird dichotomy of like, I can be around people on stage. I just, other than that, I'm just like a weirdo,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, man.
Yeah, for sure. I think we were at the. I don't have. Yeah, all the time. So, so what I've been doing in the other one is talking about like what we're doing for the week. But if you want to talk about like whatever you have coming up for the next 6 months or whatever, would be interesting.
I'm trying to think, what do I have going on? Wow. I don't know. I mean, like,
Any big projects you're finishing up, or?
well, like right now, like I'm trying to work on like a band thing with our buddy Rogelio.
Okay, cool.
So like off and on, I've been picking up the guitar and trying to work on stuff. But like art wise, like I said, I want to try to start that idea. I've had that project of kind of malaise. It's just kind of figuring out a time to it. And like right now, it's sort of my busy season where it's like I'm doing a lot of commissions and I'm doing a lot of
Is that for Christmas kind of a thing?
yeah, Christmas. I mean, I also buy and flip a lot of stuff online, so
sure.
A lot of that's where I keep talking about the other honeypot of like money. So it's like a lot of times like getting up early, buying and shipping and talking to customers. But like, oh God, what do I have coming up? There's something at the branch. Have you been out to the branch?
Oh yeah.
Okay. I want to try. They're doing that this sort of like open Wednesday artist thing where they're gonna have like local artists come in and do like a live painting and
Oh really?
a pop-up shop. It just started last week, so I'm talking to the owner there and seeing if I can do one of those gigs. So if I do, obviously I'll be posting that info up. But really, I don't know. I don't really have a lot going on winter-wise. It's and 6 months-wise, goal-orientated stuff. It's just trying to build up my business a little bit more.
Yeah.
I try to have a goal every year, and right now I'm trying to surpass a certain amount of money and have it be consistent. So it's like I'm not constantly working on other stuff that I don't want to do. I want to try to make the commission thing and painting for myself be like the main source of income, and that's been a slow burn, but it's slowly getting to where I want it to be.
Sure.
But that's really it. I mean, just LIVING, right? And that's the end, but I was trying to think of a cool way of saying it. I have no idea. Just kind of go with the flow. You know me enough, Jason. I just sort of do whatever.
Yeah.
Take opportunities when I can,
Yeah. I'm trying to use these last 2 months before the end of the year to like basically do what we had talked about, taking all those old digital files and like going through and be like, is this an actual project I'm going to finish? And then trying to like get something, even if it's just posting it on Instagram. I got a bunch of old projects that I'm not going to bring back up, that I'm just like, it would be just cool to have a memory of it somewhere other than on a hard drive that could die.
I do that same thing, and that's Actually, we should talk about that ghost thing. That's something we should probably figure out how to do that.
Oh, if you really want to do that, man, we should do it.
Yeah, we got to figure that out.
So you want to explain that quick?
Yeah, real quick. I had this idea about doing a paranormal kind of ghost hunting show where you just scream at ghosts at a haunted venue. So like my idea was I was going to try to find a spot somewhere in Racine. There's supposedly a lot of haunted areas, and
Kenosha has some good spots too.
That's true, exactly. Yeah. Just on Bray Road, by the way, coming back into town.
Oh, interesting.
A werewolf, but
yeah.
I don't know. I just kind of wanted to scream at ghosts and insult ghosts. It sounds really odd, and it's a very broad thing, but like that was an idea that I've had for like a year now.
I'm trying to think, because it's not counseling ghosts. What would it be, like disciplining ghosts?
Yeah, like hard, like tough love. You guys remember like 90s Jenny Jones with the drill sergeant coming in and yelling at kids that are just jerk offs,
Scared. where they take them to the prisons and stuff.
Yeah, like a Scared Straight for Ghosts.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just always feel like ghosts get coddled in those shows, and it's like I just want to do something where I yell.
Yeah. That's a funny idea. I definitely think it'd be web series video, like that sort of seems like I'm surprised it's, it seems like an obvious thing after you said it. So it'd be a lot of fun to do that.
So like if Jason and I actually get eaten by ghosts, it might be the last time you see us. But I mean, yeah, that was the other idea. Yeah, we'll figure that out. Yeah. I'm committed to doing it. So yeah, why don't you do it?
Good
Thanks for doing this, man.
Chat more. I just want to